this is going to be very much an interactive sort of session. It's not like a full-on lecture where you just sit there just bored out of your brains. We're going to have a play and we're going to sort of dive in. But before we do that, on a scale of like 1 to 9 dog, which dog are you in regards to your understanding of AI, or where you think you're at, or even just where you are today in regards to your concept? So pick a dog, any dog, and then we'll just see. There's no right or wrong. It's just where are you right now. You can chuck it in the chat if you want. Just say it out aloud in a minute.
Yeah, I think I think looks wise, I'm number 8 after this year, but especially this term. But I think I might be sitting around the 5-6
Sweet.
mark. That might be generous. I might be 4.
Yeah.
Pretty basic knowledge.
Owen and Matt did the 6. What's that one telling you?
I think I'm maybe 6. I have a good concept of it, but it feels overwhelming, which I think that's what that face is.
Yep. Tommy, number 2.
Kind of heard about it. Like I said, I haven't really dabbled with anything. I like some of the art that has been churned out by it. Apart from that, yeah, I don't really know the extent of what it's gone to and everything like that. I suppose I'm quite interested to when AI joins quantum computing and where AGI is. I suppose that's what it's all heading towards. But yeah, apart from that, yeah, don't know.
Yeah, unreal. And I suppose I'll do myself as well. I reckon I'm probably 7 at the moment. A bit smug, but also probably don't know as much as I should. So.
Well, if you're a 7, I'll put myself down to a 3.
Yeah, I'd go 3 now.
Take it over.
I worked it out. Not bad for a TAS teacher. That face, just every time I do punch something into ChatGPT, it doesn't quite pinpoint or hit what I sort of looking for as a response or as a result. So I think just trying to work out how to narrow down my searches and be more accurate with what I want it to do for me, I guess.
Yeah, unreal. Well, I think today we're definitely that's gonna be genuinely one of the focuses. So yeah, pretty much. Welcome. We're gonna jump straight into it, and what we're gonna look at is a couple of key areas. So we've got 3 key principles we're really looking at. So three principles of prompt engineering. So they're basically your foundation. What do you need to know? Once we know that, we're going to then look into how do we demonstrate a sound understanding of the opportunities and also the limitations of that AI. It's quite a big thing, but there is actually quite a lot of limitations in place already. And then just the third, because this is a practical workshop, it's really about how do we actually use the thing, like Matt said, getting honed in on being more specific with actually getting that enhanced workflow or just sort of engaging sort of method. So in general, if you don't know what generative artificial intelligence is, it's just a subset of artificial intelligence. This pretty much doesn't rely on too much coding and all that kind of stuff. It's more about data. So like, for example, ChatGPT is a artificial intelligence that's based on a large language model. So a large language model, pretty much it's a ton of data in the background that's made up necessarily sometimes of zeros and ones, your binary coding, and all the GPT model or the ChatGPT is trying to do is you put in a prompt, it'll go back into that data set and it'll pull it forward. That's pretty much what it is. And it can create text, images, music, video, all that kind of stuff. So it's got some pretty cool abilities, but it's got some significant limitations, and we're going to see them pretty quickly once we start jumping in. So we're going to have a quick little what do you notice activity. So as I said, this is a practical thing, so you can chuck it in the chat or we can have a bit of a chat, but I've got 6 images here. So have a quick scan of these 2. Just think about or write in the chat, what do you notice? What are you noticing with these 2 images? And then I'll go to the next 2. So have a think, what are you seeing? What are you noticing? And then a couple more. So what do you notice here? And then we got last two. What are you noticing? So that's just a literal general question for you guys. So if you wanted to open it up, I'll put it over to you guys. What did you notice in those two? And I'll flick back to them if we want to.
The attention to detail with a lot of them.
Mm-hmm. How so?
Or specific features, or just looking at all the pictures, there's like focal points. I forget what it's called when you do like a portrait snap, and it's it just blurs everything out in the background, and then it just focuses on the certain parts.
Yeah, the bokeh.
Yeah, she looks like she's artificially. She looks kind of, there's like an essence of, I don't know, fakeness there.
Yeah. Cool.
I was going to say the hands in both the images where you can see hands and on the right, that you can tell, well, she's holding the coffee cup, not, you know.
That's not how you hold one.
No. And then the one where he's pouring the booze, you can tell that it's not, it's fake. Well, not fake, but generated. Everything, yeah.
What else are we noticing?
Is that vase on an angle or vase on an angle?
I think those two images there, very, I don't know if they've been generated or whatever at the same time, but very similar color palettes and tones.
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to the other images where they sort of contrast in the other two examples.
Yeah. So each of these is an artificially generated image. And what it does highlight to a degree is some of the biases, and we'll dive into them in a minute, but a bias of like, why is there a certain theme, like Matt sort of just pointed out, similar tones or similar just limitations. So like you're pointing out, Jared, the fingers, the hands, or is that Matt? Basically, if you have a look at hers, she's only got 3 fingers. Where's her fourth? Where's her pinky gone? So we can see that there's limitations with this kind of artificial intelligence, but it is rapidly getting addressed. So here's just a general idea. So a hallucination, it can hallucinate, meaning it can literally just tell you straight up, this is fact. It is 100%. This is exactly what is truth, but it's completely wrong. Because what it's doing is, as I said, it's going back into that data set, trying to pull the information forward and then presenting it with all authority saying, yep, 100% this is accurate. Where I've learned most of my understanding of this kind of technology is through the University of Sydney masterclass. It was about a 3-hour masterclass that really dived into AI and the limitations and also the opportunities. So every image you see today is actually generated by AI, and most of them I've created or I've grabbed a couple offline. But for example, if you have a look at this one on the side there, you can just start to notice, and I won't point it out just yet because we'll probably have a play in a minute, but you'll start noticing some little things that you go, that doesn't look 100% right. But they're very rapidly getting addressed, these limitations. So what are the 3 principles of prompt engineering? So they're really simple. If you've ever done design, or you ever teach design, or you know about marketing or any of that kind of stuff, iterate. Your first answer is never going to be your best. Context is key, being giving it like, hey, this is the situation, or this is your job description, or this is what I exactly want you to do. And then the constraints. Constraints enable accuracy. So if you've got constraints in place, meaning how big you want this text to be, or the format, or the style of image, they enable that accuracy of your prompt. So, or the output of your response. And some of you probably already figured that out by the level of prompts you're creating. But if you've not really jumped into it, these are just your simple principles. If you apply these to any generative AI model, you'll smash it. A lot of these AI models are creating their own sort of like, hey, plug and play kind of methods, which is awesome. So a lot of these kind of things are already inbuilt. But when you're using like generative AI through ChatGPT, you sort of need to keep that in the back of your head. Can I iterate, give me multiple types? Can I give it context? And can I put in a couple of constraints? So we're going to jump in. So if you can open up Microsoft Bing chat. So this is using the Microsoft Edge browser. You need to open up the Edge browser because this is a Microsoft run sort of platform. You then need to sign into the chat. So if you don't know what that is, if you look on the screen, on my screen, you'll see the little icon that says chat. But basically, if you just open up Microsoft Bing, Microsoft Edge, sorry, then you just typed in Bing, you should see up the top, it'll give you that little symbol. So I'll give you a minute. If you've already got it open and you're ready to rock, there's one key thing that you need to keep in mind is there's 3 styles of this chat. You've got creative mode, you've got balanced mode, and you've got precise mode. You actually need to go to creative because this is giving you access to ChatGPT 4 for free. So instead of paying $20 a month for ChatGPT 4, if you use the creative mode in Bing Chat, you're actually getting it for free. So it means you can search live data, you can search the internet up to the current day, all that kind of stuff. Whereas your regular ChatGPT 3.5, you can't do any of that. It's like 2021-ish data is the latest it's up to. So if you open up that Bing chat, if you're struggling, just let us know and I can guide you through. I can screen share if we need to, otherwise I'll stay in the slide deck.
No, man, you might have to run through that. So
Yep.
I don't use Edge.
Yeah, not all good. So I'll just share, go back to my home page of Microsoft. All right, so I'm going to open up and I'll share, if it's not already, this one. All right, you should see on my screen Microsoft Edge, like I've just opened up the browser, Microsoft Edge, and then if you just type in Bing chat, you'll notice first, I'll just make this big so I can see. Up the top right-hand corner, you should see a spot to sign in. Can you all see that? You can click drop down and you can sign in. What I suggest you do with that sign in is use a personal email. If you use government ones or that kind of stuff, they can actually be protected. And you'll get limitations on what you can actually do with the actual platform.
Yeah, I don't have that.
If you don't have that yet, let's see if we can get into the next step and it might pop up for you.
Cool.
So next step is if you just, because I typed in Bing chat, you've actually got 2 options. You can click this little icon, which is the chat symbol, or you can actually select chat. And what it'll do is it'll open up into this sort of style of page.
Yeah, okay, I think of that.
You got it?
I just clicked on that first link when it popped up when you said chat Bing. You just go to bing.com.
Yeah. So you're in the chat and you need to be, when you create the chat, you need to select more creative, not balanced or precise. These ones are okay, but the more creative gives you, as I said, access to ChatGPT 4, which can search internet, and it's actually got some inbuilt processing, which is pretty powerful. So once you're in there, I'll just show the screen layout so we're all sort of familiar. Once you start prompting this, the feed will register recent activity on your right. So you can actually go back to any of your recent trials. Like, for example, I've just been smashing out Instagram content. So instead of writing a 50-word description every single time, I've been generating them through Bing, and I've been using the phone app. So there's actually a phone app, and it's amazing. It's exactly this, but just in your pocket. So I'll show you all that a bit later, but something just to keep in the back of your head. You can see it says mobile. You click that, you can download the app. It's pretty awesome. Using Bing Chat, create an image for one of the products, services, or courses that you currently deliver. So we've got a range of people in our session today, all from different areas. So choose what's related to you. If you're a teacher or a lecturer or anything like that, maybe you choose a course and a subject, and you design or get it to create an image based on the topic that you're currently teaching. If you're a designer or someone who's in marketing or sales or anything like that, you just want to create a image for a product, or maybe your web page or something like that. So in the chat using Bing, just type in a prompt. And once you've done it, it should give you 4 options. It should generate 4 images. What I'll ask you to do is, once it's come up with those four images, you should see them. I'll get you to right-click or open them up, right-click, download them, and then just chuck them in the chat. We're keen to see them as we progress through as a group.
Oh, I thought that was the image that it spat out, but it's just loading. But that
Just basic image.
Yeah, I'm just like, that's not really what I had in mind. Yeah, cool.
So if you've generated some images, yeah, you can open them up and it'll actually go large screen. You can click download or save or copy. And if you don't know how to add to chat, you can just click the file button, which is a little page symbol in the chat. That's the Zoom chat I'm talking about.
You want us to just take a screenshot of like all 4 together rather than
Yeah.
individually?
Yeah. You don't have to. Yeah, that's a great idea. Use the screenshot and get all 4. We just want a snapshot to see where they are at the moment.
I know what the words are in mind, but I don't recognize the language, but I might have to be a bit more specific.
How long does it take to generate a picture?
Scroll down if it hasn't already done it for you.
Okay. Oh, it just says I'll try to create that.
Yeah. And then if you scroll down, sometimes it doesn't automatically scroll for you. So you like sit there for ages and then realize, oh, it's actually done it already. But it should only take 30 seconds, not even.
Oh, yeah, sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
I got Zoom on my other laptop, so I can't screenshot it, but there you go. I did a wine glass on a table.
Nice.
Then they put all the other stuff on there I didn't ask for, like flowers and tablecloths and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good notice. It's added extra detail. Yeah. So yours is obviously something to do with cooking there.
Yeah, I was just trying to generate something for the Stage 6 Metal Boys next year, the mini offset smoker.
Yeah, cool. And it's put in a lot of people.
Yeah.
And then
Where's the chat?
yeah, and then Tommy's one, interesting. The quality of guitars are pretty good. So just make a note, like your prompts that you've generated right now, they're probably relatively generic. So, but they might be super specific, and that's what you're just getting out of it. What we'll do is we'll move on, but Jared, if you find yours anytime, mate, just chuck them in.
Yeah, I'm just looking for it now.
If it doesn't already do it, just go new chat down the bottom left. It's the little icon, and then start it again. So what we're going to do is we noticed that, look, it's given us images, but they're not really usable in most contexts. So what we need to do is we actually need to apply a method, apply a strategy or framework to get these things to produce an image or text or whatever we want that is actually usable. Because remember, there's one thing that generative AI is really good at, and that's hallucinating. And Matt sort of pulled that out really easy. He said, look, it's done this, and then, well, we noticed that there's tons of people there, and then Owen was saying that there's tablecloths and stuff, and I didn't want any of that, because it's just producing stuff that it thinks you want. So here is my prompt planning method. So this is an adaptation from the Sydney University's version, but their one's a little bit different. It didn't go into as specific. So what we're looking at here now, it might look confusing, but we're going to break it down super simple for you. You're reading, we usually read left to right. This is exactly how we're going to read this. So on our left, we've got four things that we're looking at. We're going to seed it, meaning that's giving it an example or a just description of a job title. We're going to give it a task. We're going to give it a style, and then we're going to do our parameters. And you remember our principles. We've got to iterate, we've got to be specific, and we've got to give it constraints. So we're applying our principles of prompt engineering, but just in this framework. So basically, I want you to redo the image that you've just created, reprompt, but using this method. So if you look at the first row, it says seed. So this is an optional method. You can give it an example, or you can give it a job title, but that's optional, totally is. But if you do put it in, say, for example, you're an expert graphic designer that works for this company, or this an expert in this kind of design, such as Art Deco or whatever it might be, it gets more specific straight away. You go to the next thing, give it the task. Now the task, you can just give it the general action, or you can give it the domain as well. That's another optional one. So for example, like if we are doing the images, which is the bottom row, like that's where we're going to start. We're going to do the images. So it's the bottom row. So we've got images there. We can tell it what is the object we want it to create. Is there a setting that we want it in? So for example, if you wanted a barbecue in a setting, in a scene, it could be out in a park, or like at a beach or something, that's your setting. Then you go to your style. So artistic. Now, if you referred back to our AI cheat sheet, I've actually given you a bunch of words in there and bunch of seeds or titles for different specific things. So if you're really struggling with artistic style or presentation techniques or anything like that, you can just refer to that cheat sheet and it'll give you a bunch. And then the last thing is that parameters. So we're looking at parameters for images. If you're doing that for, it could be the size of the image, it could be the color, tonality of the image, temperature. If you look at your cheat sheet again, the temperature, the lower the temperature, the more sort of like constrained. The higher the temperature, the more creative, the more just sort of wild it can become. So what I want you to do, rewrite your earlier prompt using the prompt planning method, and I'll go back to it in a minute so you can see it. And that's exactly what you're doing. You're getting specific, you're giving it a task, you're putting in constraints. And so I'll go back to that. So if you didn't have your cheat sheet open, you can see what are we doing. You can tell it you're an expert graphic designer or whatever. That's your task. What is, oh, that's your seed, sorry. What is your task? So you're telling it to create an image of what, in what setting, in what style, and then what are your constraints? Once you've got some images, chuck them in the chat. This is where I need to get some quality background music. Now, while you're going on that, I'll just talk in the background for a little bit. You might be going, well, we're using Bing Chat, but we're using ChatGPT processor, but now we're creating images. I didn't think ChatGPT could do that. And you'd be right. It can't really. This is DALL-E. So DALL-E is a different AI. And then Bing or Microsoft has blended them both together. So you've got both of those, the image generator and the text-based generator or GPT in the one platform. So that's how we can do both. If you're a regular ChatGPT, you couldn't create an image. So remember, if yours puts out something, you're like, yeah, that's still pretty dodge. iterate. Remember, the first principle of prompt engineering is iterate. Do it again, and you can give it feedback. So these were good. However, I need you to reduce the cartoon effect or be more specific in the prompting language. If you have no idea what you should be asking it, well, ask that. Ask. If you really don't know what to prompt, literally ask, give me 3 examples of prompts using this structure for this style of image. And it'll produce some prompts for you.
So is this still, I really don't know how it does it. Is it just, it's just grabbing heaps of stuff and then jamming it all together? So all of this stuff that it's taking and, you know, creating this image is not original. It's from somewhere else.
This is all original images. So the difference between AI and say like, and this is where the controversy is, AI and say like graphic design or something like that, if you're looking at images, or the arts like music and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
There's a huge data set in the background. There's a huge data set in the background.
Shit.
And what it does is every single image or every single thing it creates is unique, because it is a completely different pool of data it pulls from every single time. And it's very, very hard to track where it's actually pulling that data from. So pretty much huge pool, and it goes back in there and grabs it and goes, here's what you've asked for. And it does that every time. A really good example is like, for example, the way they train the models. So if you think there's a million handwritten like variations for the letter 8 or the number 8. What does it do? Well, it scans, well, the data set that's going in there to recognize a hand-drawn letter 8 is a scanned image, turns it into a vector. So it's all the little squares, like the fade out to lighter colors and a darker in the middle. It'll identify where the darkest point of that 8 is. And then it'll say, out of these 50 hand-drawn 8s, these 40 of these are 8s and 10 of them are 9s, because it's recognized the pattern. It's just a lot of pattern recognition. So that's why it's super hard to prove that it's generated by AI, because like people are like guns at Photoshop and things like that. But this is now inbuilt in Adobe Suite. You can actually generatively fill.
This is crazy. Like, because yeah, it's come up with something pretty epic, and I'm like, well, why don't I just use that for all my
Yeah, 100%.
Like, why am I paying for stuff?
Yeah, that's exactly it, isn't it? So what you might notice on some of these images is the actual little watermark down the bottom left-hand corner. So now pretty much all AI images should be stamped with an identifier code or watermark to try to eliminate, but obviously it's not going to.
Or that you could crop out.
Yeah, exactly.
Potentially.
Use the erase tool in Photoshop or just use another AI to remove the
Microsoft, I'll just do it in Microsoft Paint.
That's it.
And match it, color drip it.
So what you would notice, like, remember how we talked about like the limitations where it's the AI's hands are all jacked up? There it is because it was running on a data set, but it's been given feedback and feedback and more feedback, and then slowly improved the ability to generate that kind of image. So let's continue on. So you could probably see even in the chat, we're starting to get more higher quality sort of images or more specific styles. If you haven't or yet, you just got to keep having a crack. But the images are cool. They're just a bit of fun. If you're in that space, sweet. But majority of us are probably going to be using the text. So we're going to jump into that now. So pretty much based on the image that you've created, I want you to generate a either because most of you guys are teachers in some capacity, or you are on social media. I want you to create some sort of description, plan, or for the image that you've generated, the topic, the service, whatever it might be. So if you're a teacher or a coach or something like that, type it in, create a lesson plan or create a sequence of learning for this topic, because that image could be your branding at the front. Now, what we'll do is, while you're doing it, remember that prompt planning. I'll just move to it. If you can't remember the prompt planning method. So now we're looking at that text row, which is the middle row. So this is where we can really get detailed. So if you go seed, remember your seed is like, hey, here's the example I want you to refer to. If you know some style of activities or a really good sort of example for any of your descriptions of whatever you're trying to do, that's where you put it. You go, I need you to refer to this. This is an example I want you to model of. Your action, you could tell it to do. Write a statement. We're asking you to write a lesson plan or a sequence of learning or some sort of description for a social media post. Doesn't really matter. Something that's in your context. Your domain is like your topic. So your action is you're going to write something, a lesson plan. The domain is the topic. So it could be woodwork, tech, electrical, wine production, whatever it might be. You just need to figure out what is your domain, your style, and the genre. So remember, there's different types of genres for writing. So you've got your passive writing, you've got your formal writing, your academic writing, different types of writing. If you don't know them, that's fine. You can just ask generative AI or Bing Chat, hey, what are some genres of writing styles? So you can ask that question. The voice is an interesting one. Not many people I've known have sort of used voice. Voice is who is actually saying this? Is this coming from you as the teacher? Like, is it writing it for you? Or is it writing it in the language of a student or your client or whatever your context is? And then your format or your parameters. So remember your constraints at the end. So this is like, do you want it in bullet points? Do you want it in a table? Do you want it in paragraphs? And you put your limitations. It can't be any more than 25 words, for example. So generate something, and then we'll have a bit of a chat, see what it's come up with, see if you think, oh, this is pretty rubbish or this is okay. We'll see.
Mine's come up with, like, I just wrote in a lesson plan after that Homer Simpson wearing Gucci. I typed in using the image you created above, create a lesson plan for Year 7 mandatory technology students incorporating design principles. And it's jumped straight up to the marquetry one of the coffee table that it generated before.
Yeah, great point.
So I should have even specified and said using the Homer Simpson picture image you generated above.
So that's a really good point. And sometimes you actually need to create a new chat, because sometimes it'll reference stuff that you don't want it to, and it'll get stuck on a tangent and it'll keep referring back to that same one.
It'll just keep going. Yeah, I've noticed that with the 3.5.
No, I'm probably still thinking too basic, to be honest.
So what have we got so far?
No, it's just like a 12-week guitar basics course, and it was just churned it out.
Yeah. So if you think about the 12-week guitar course, let's go through the planning method. So have we got an example in what you want in there? So it could mean in that course, it needs to have X, Y, Z. So it could have chord progression. It should have a list of recommended songs, whatever. So that could be your seed. Your task is you're going to write a sequence of learning, which is 12 weeks long for introduction to guitar. And that could be, and then get more specific. Is it acoustic guitar? Is it regular 6-string? Like, what is it? The genre, the domain, the Like think about the genre. This is for guitar that is classical, that is rock. Like it's like literally what style of guitar. And then the last bit, you format. Your one could be, I need you to format this in a table. And in your first column, you've got your weeks. In your second column, you've got your description. In the third column, you've got your recommended songs. And in the fourth column, you've got some examples or some basic structures to give me. I want to get anything good.
It's writing it out now. It's a little bit hairy-fairy, I guess, which I often get when I try and prompt it. Like the image above wasn't really relating too well to what I wanted it to write, but I said to it, you're a social media manager and copywriter for a fun, authentic, and young wine brand. Using the image above, which was an image of an old man drinking a glass of Riesling in a wine bar. Write a short statement welcoming new followers to your social media account that would be posted on Instagram and how they can visit you at the wine bar.
Mm.
And it's quite, I didn't put any parameters in it, which I should have, because now it's just done a huge essay.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like, you know, we are more than just a wine brand. We are a wine lifestyle, you know, like kind of that sort of like
Yeah.
wishy-washy kind of language, which I just found.
So what part of the, if you think back to the prompt planning method, what part of that, out of the 4 sections, which section do you reckon you need to tighten up and iterate with?
Definitely need to put the formatting in. So
Yep.
shorter.
So format, like what style of format? Is it going to be dot points? Is it going to be a short description? Is it going to be of 25 words? Is it going to include emojis?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, you'd be super specific with the style of format you want.
Yeah.
Did you come up with anything?
I'll reprompt it and see what it says.
Yeah.
I got a interesting response. I asked just to write out a basic lesson plan on how to use it. How to write a statement of intent using just the aim, design constraint scaffold. It's spat it out in like it broke it down into like introduction, activity 1, 2, and 3 with minutes, because I set a parameter of 60 minutes in total.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just like big chunks of text and just not sort of stepped out dot point form or just step by step how you would normally do it.
Mm-hmm.
So then I asked it to rewrite it and put it in dot point form under each of those headings of intro, activity, etc. And then I got a response saying, I'm sorry, but I can't write that lesson plan in dot point form for you. That would be doing your work for you. And I'm only here to help, not replace you.
Cheeky bastard.
Yeah, so it's not going to do it, not going to make life easy for me.
I reckon if you copy your original prompt, go to a new chat.
Yeah.
And then create a new chat and then put your constraint of do this in dot points and it can't be longer than a certain amount of words, and see what it does. See if it gives you that same.
Yeah. It started like after it wrote that, it said it did start to break it down, like the introduction, gave an example on how dot point form would look for an introduction.
Yeah.
But it didn't do the entire lesson plan in dot point form.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, interesting. I found that I've liked with the ChatGPT 4 in Bing, I've liked to get research and like to get general latest trends and things. And then I usually move back into ChatGPT 3.5 to give me more of a structure. So it's ChatGPT 3.5 is the normal browser version. That's usually better at tables and things like that. And just because it's not trying to search, I'm pretty sure it's just not trying to search all this info to try to make it smart. It's just like, okay, here's your text, I'll format it for you. So something to consider. I use them both in play at the same time. So one of the things this can do is basically it can search the internet. Yeah. So one of the things we can do is if you're creating a lesson plan or a marketing campaign or a full course overview or anything like that, you can actually go and search the internet through Bing Chat and get it to give you that information. So within your prompt, you can literally do the same thing, refer to real world examples and pull references. So it could be from the latest news from the day, if you're doing like a case study, for example, or you're trying to look at for your music one there, you could pull across the hottest 100 for classical guitar music, but in a sequence that's easiest to learn, easiest to hardest to learn, and it should be able to pull it across for you.
Yeah, I put my own website in it, and it was getting information off that. It rewrote a new bio using it. So
yeah,
cool.
nice. So if you wanted to have a crack at that and just ask it to with one of your lessons. Now, sometimes if you're doing a lesson plan, for example, you might want to go and create one activity rather than the entire lesson. You might just go, okay, I know what I'm going to do, the intro and the outro, because that's my just teaching practice. I know exactly what I'm doing. But I just want help with this design task. I'll just give you an example, for example. So we use an activities called 4Cs, creativity, collaboration, critical thinking, and communication in our context. And what I did was I gave it some examples of some style of activities similar to the crazy dog one that we did this morning at the start of the session. And then I just said, okay, I need you to create using 3 examples of these structure for teaching Year 9 students how to use the design process, and it's got to use 3 of these methods. And then it pulled it together. It gave me some examples. It gave me some questions to ask, but I was super specific on what I wanted and the year level or the context I wanted. So the more specific, you can literally pull syllabus points or course outcomes across and go refer to the New South Wales syllabus for this, or you can just give it the points. Or for example, for the marketing ones, refer to this marketer and here's their bio. I want you to replicate, but in my style. And you can go super specific. So if you have a crack at that one where you can pull real world news, it's just something you can see. And we're not going to cover everything today. It's literally just a bit of an intro, a bit of a taster. But the principles is just, what is your example you're giving it? What is its task? What are your specific requirements or styles? And then what are your constraints? You keep applying that method. It should just start honing in. But sometimes you have to create that new chat. Do you guys want a couple of minutes on this task, or would you like to move on?
Couple minutes in.
Yep.
So you're saying start a new chat, or you want us to just clear history?
It's totally up to you. You see what's working. If it's still functioning like you want it to, keep it. But if it's not, go to chat and then
Get rid of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you can also just grab your existing prompt, copy it, and then put it to the new one if it was working all right.
Oh, it's just gone straight to Wikipedia.
So maybe you need to be specific. Don't use Wikipedia. What was your prompt?
I just wrote of the above lesson plan. I would like you to find real world examples of the topic, but then I didn't really narrow it down enough.
Sometimes it can't refer to the images or the text above. Sometimes it can, but sometimes it can't. So
no, it grabbed the marketry stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's when I've got to start a new chat.
So when it's given you the response, and down the bottom of the response where it's generated, and it says learn more, is that telling me where it's pulled these ideas from?
Yeah, so that's where they're your references.
Yeah. Because I'm just in, so I'm at that time of year with the kids where all assessments are done and trying to keep them busy since all their assessment tasks are finished. Yeah.
Yeah. Same.
So I've just put in create an engineering challenge activity for Year 9 students that can be completed in 1 hour, targeting abstract thinking based on a current real-world event. And it's spat out, get them to design a water purification system for flood-affected areas. Gives you objective materials, procedure, and everything. And yeah, it gives you those links down the bottom where it's pulled from.
So that's a cool one. And then you could even ask it, search an internet for a stimulus video like of that kind of thing and see if it pulls it through for you.
I entered a fun one. I asked it to create a wine brand review and entered my website in using the language and writing style of Mike Beanie, who's a well-known wine reviewer, and then put in the website from where he works for, and came up with a really good review, but it's like completely false. And it even ended it with like how much it scores the wines and by Mike Beanie at this website. It's danger.
Yeah. You're finding the ethical or unethical use of AI.
The Department of Education haven't yet, have they?
Yeah, they're slowly. That's why they keep putting blocks on it.
Yeah.
So while you're doing that, there's some really good data. I might share through the email list or later after this is just I've got a 5-page document that I've put together, a review on a system, and it's all about the ethical use with students, with teaching, with assessment, that kind of
Science.
stuff. Because like there should be 3 tiers if you're in that system. There should be, yes, this is an assessment where you got full access to use it. Yes, this second tier. Yes, you've got partial access, and that could be for research, but you need to reference it. And then the last tier, I would say, is you've got absolutely no
chance,
no access, and if you do use it, you are penalised. Basically, impossible to identify using programs to see if it is AI generated. So it just comes down to professional judgment, how you know you're
the kid, the student.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah. I picked a couple of them up this year.
Yeah, that's exactly it. They're getting pretty smart. And the thing is, you've all sort of hit on it at some point today. The language that it pushes out and it uses, you can actually get it to write in that specific genre. Remember, we're going back to our prompt planning. So you could say, hey, write this at the academic level of a 15-year-old student. And it should put it at a language, so it wouldn't be using crazy words. And I'll actually start putting mistakes in there as well. So that's what I mean. It's crazy hard to identify when the kids actually know how to use the prompting correctly. What we might do is we might just quickly go into the next little bit, just to give you a bit of context. Yeah, so you're all sort of going through really well with the prompt planning method, but there's actually one more layer: responsive and reflective iteration. So remember our first principle, iteration, you need to keep repeating and getting better. Well, you've either got responsive iteration, so that's driven by you, or you've got reflective, which is driven by the model. So for example, be more concise is you're telling it you're giving it some feedback, be more precise, or add more context, or clarify the goal, or provide examples. That's you driven iteration of like what you've asked it to do. By model driven, it is ask the model to explain what it did well, provide reasoning for the choices, suggest alternative prompts. Well, that's what I mean. If you don't know what to prompt it, you just ask it. So you guys got any questions on that one?
No.
Not really,
So
no.
that one, as you go through, it just keep that in the back of your head as you're iterating. Are you just trying to get specific yourself and hitting a roadblock? If you are, go to driven by the model and just go suggest some alternative prompts to get this kind of quality of work, and it'll do it for you.
Is that us trying to teach it how to teach itself?
Yeah. So, as I said, or as Jared's just alluded to, AI is not the master yet. It is just a student, so you need to apply best practice. So provide it with feedback, be explicit in your instructions, and ask clarifying questions and probe for understanding. If you do those things, it'll go really well. You probably would have noticed that if you've used AI for a bit, it progressively got dumber over the last few months. And all that is saying is more people are using it, but no one's giving it feedback. So everyone's accepting the information at face value and then not iterating and not saying, hey, look, actually, that's not correct. They're not questioning. They're just going, yep, sweet, fact. But it's actually not right. So using that iteration and just getting it to justify why it's made that call or that information gives it that feedback, and it actually improves the language in the model itself. But if you don't give it feedback, well, it's going to get progressively dumber, because everyone just accepts it at face value. So we're pretty much close to the end. Just going to watch this quick little video.
I think he's near. Hello again, Lisa Ratano. I need the artifact. Tunoka, this. So you don't want to play nice? What if I let the Empire know about your illegal operation? I think he's over here. Vale. Just Lebsa. You can tell Vader about this one, not me.
So you might be going, well, why the hell did we just watch that? Everything there, from voice to music to images to the entire cinematography, was generated by AI. So and that's just through prompting and all that kind of stuff. So the more specific you get and the more tools you start using, we've just used image and text, but there's audio, and then there's more video kind of AIs out there now. There's like thousands of apps getting added to the Chrome store every day. So it's pretty intense, but I suppose the message going forward is you're now on the front foot. You've got the model, you've got the framework ready to go. So you just need to now apply it to any AI that you use, whether it's image, text, video, it doesn't matter. You use the same sort of methods, being specific, iterating, and giving it context or constraints. So that's pretty much it, guys. So if I could ask very politely if you could give us some feedback.
Cool. Thanks, Vaughn.
Of course. Yeah, thanks, dude. I'm a bit addicted at the moment. Sorry, as you were talking, I was just trying to churn out just random images.
Pictures. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. You boys are probably going to be hooked on the pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, no, it was really good, man. Like, I'm blown away, and I hadn't known about this stuff, so yeah, it's cool, man. Thanks.
Yeah,
Man.
it's good.
Awesome.
It's opened more doors for me.
Yeah. Hopefully you have a bit of fun with it. It's pretty cool. It's something that can be overwhelming and daunting if you're just sort of sit back and just wait. But if you're just chipping away at it, having a crack, best kind of way to innovate and embrace the uncertainty. But as you see, there is limitations to the programs, but they're massively getting updated at the moment.
No, I definitely could pass it on to some colleagues, because I think all my staff, they're overwhelmed by it all. We tried to do some PL on it at school, but then everyone's just sort of like dipped their toes in, really, and I'm just sitting there going, yeah, I use it quite frequently, and I think they're more scared of it, but it's just going to become more and more present, so we've got to sort of work with it and then work against it. Like just looking at this Homer Simpson thing that I made, like it's full on.
Yeah.
Like just having him dripped in Gucci, like just writing that whole thing, it's just blown my mind, really.
Yeah.
You can do that sort of thing, and I guess I don't know, from a creative standpoint, people are gonna catch on to this, and then you know how they do their, I don't know, create me as like take a photo and then create it as a Simpson character. It can like sort of stem, and like you can just take it as Matt said, you can take it down, like you can just follow the rabbit hole and just get caught, really.
Yeah.
But just the utilities and the tools, I think, taken away from that, there's a lot of tools that we can use.
But yeah, unreal. Is there any like if sort of final questions you guys had, or
Kind of. I think I've got to catch up to my questions somehow. I think there's probably going to be a lot of questions, but at the moment, yeah, there's a lot for me anyway, because I barely knew much about where the capabilities are and the whispers, I suppose. So yeah, it's good.
Yeah, cool. Like I said right at the start, if you guys have enjoyed the Bing version, there's literally the app on your phone. So if you're on your Bing chat and then you'll see the little mobile up top, click it, it gives you a QR code, grab it, log in with your same email, because it saves, because it's all obviously internet, it saves whatever your searches are from your phone to your browser. So majority of the time now I'm actually using it on my phone rather than my browser.
You're a shareholder for this?
I should be. I do have some shares in.
Everyone
in
download the
Microsoft.
app. Get on your phone.
That's right. I just need to build my.
This isn't a sponsored video.
Yeah, I should get some royalties.
What's that letter from Bing doing on your back cupboard behind you, Vaughn?